Hello everybody, here we are today and we are going to be doing my predictions for week 19 in the CFL. So before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or the channel. With it being said, let's get on into it. So the first game of the week is going to be BC traveling to Hamilton in a game that really does mean quite a bit for both sides. You have the Lions that are still in the hunt for the Western Division, things looking kind of grim there, and then the Tiger Cats are looking to stay in the thick of it for the Eastern semifinal hosting rights. And for this game, you see two sides that are kind of where you expected them to be. Maybe at the start of the year, I think BC overachieved a little bit, Hamilton underachieved a little bit, but still, two sides that you're thinking probably make the playoffs, and they are both locked into playoff spots. However, of course, they still have plenty to play for here. With a win, the Lions would not be able to win the Western Division. A Hamilton win means Winnipeg would win it yet again. And with a Hamilton loss, I think it pretty much guarantees Montreal is hosting the Eastern semifinal. If Montreal wins this week, they do end up getting to host the ESF. So, yeah, I'm thinking that's the case here. The last time we saw these two teams play each other, we saw James Butler end up having a pretty good game. Hamilton ended up outperforming pretty well, or just really beating up on the Lions. I don't even want to say outperforming, but at the time it seemed like it'd probably be a good win. This was when the Lions were looking really good earlier in the year, and then Hamilton went in there and kind of threw a wrench into that part of the season. Seeing if they can do that here, as they've really been able to ride a lot of momentum as of late. They've got Levi Mitchell back, they've got Matt Shields back, they've got Taylor Powell, who got a lot of experience in the time. So you've got three guys at quarterback that going into the playoffs, you could probably throw any one of the three in a game and feel like maybe you have a chance. I think for this one, I am going to pick the Lions because they still have something to play for. And again, probably a revenge game. You don't want Hamilton to kind of get it into their heads, hey, if we meet them come Grey Cup time, then we can just beat them like we did the previous two times. I don't know, this one's going to be a tough one, and I do think that Hamilton obviously could win this one in this week. The second game of the night will be a much more important game because you have the Saskatchewan Roughriders traveling to Calgary to play the Stampeders. The Roughriders, of course, were a team going into the season, had a lot of questions, and then it seemed like they kind of were answering them in a good way before hitting a slide. They're at 4 or 5 game losing streak right now, and they are on the cusp of just losing what seems like a sure chance to make the postseason. They, of course, are going to be taking on the Stamps, who have a very long playoff streak going back to 2005, I think was the first year that it started. They've not missed since then. However, now they are 4-11 on the year. Things have not looked really good for them after a 12-6 season. And they, of course, with a loss to Saskatchewan, would be eliminated for the first time for playoff contention since 2004. It's kind of a weird thing here. You've got Calgary, who I believe is coming off of a bye, taking on a Riders side that really seems to be down and out at the moment. So you would think leaning Calgary here in this one at home to keep hopes alive. A win would not guarantee them a playoff spot, but they are currently favored above the Riders by like 1 point whatever percent to make the postseason. But you know, if you're the Rough Riders, despite the fact that you are going to finish the year with a losing record, a win right here against Calgary guarantees you a spot. Calgary gets eliminated, you punch your postseason ticket, and you can maybe rest up a little bit and try to figure out some things before the season winds down and you head on into postseason play. A loss really does open up the door. Now, Calgary does need some things to go their way. They posted on Instagram their scenarios on things that would have to happen if they ended up beating Saskatchewan here and now. But in general, the Rough Riders have the momentum, I guess. They really don't have momentum, but just knowing that this could be the nail in the coffin and just get it done and not have to worry about it, it's going to be an interesting one. I think that neither one of these teams have really been helpful for me when it comes to picks this year. However, I am going to pick Calgary at home, coming off of a bye, knowing that this really is the final one. We've talked about at points in the year, feeling like, oh, this is the nail in the coffin. This is the literal nail. The Rough Riders have the hammer, and they have the chance to, put it in place to bury the Stamps postseason hopes And I think this is a really weird game because you're looking at two brothers that are head coaches in the Dickinsons that very well, whoever wins this one could be getting their other brother fired, which is kind of weird. But yeah, I'm going to be picking Calgary here. Then on Saturday, you have the Montreal Alouettes playing Edmonton. Kind of one of those deals where the Riders, or not the Riders, the Als, are kind of getting their groove going to where they have been able to find some momentum, highs and lows for this team. The offense still doesn't seem to be what you're hoping for it to be. Boy, the defense sure does get some points for them. And I know somebody was saying the other day that with Moss being out of Saskatchewan, it clearly shows that, it's not all Moss being the problem with the Riders. I mean, has Montreal really been that great offensively? They lost Julian Grant for the season, if I'm not mistaken, and they do have pieces, but still, their record against teams that are better than them on the year, the Torontos, the BCs, the Winnipegs, all that is abysmal. It's atrocious. They are a second-tier team. The good news is they are going to finish with a winning record and very well could, with this win, or actually will with a win against Edmonton, be able to host the Eastern semifinal. You win that game, you're on to the Eastern final. Maybe good things happen there, and you're able to ride momentum into the Grey Cup. Who knows what happens there? I'm going to be honest. This is not a great team. Not trying to be mean to them. I support every team in the league, even if they beat my team, the Lions. But yeah, they are looking to get the nail in the coffin there for Hamilton's hopes of hosting the semifinal by beating Edmonton. Edmonton. The first team to be eliminated officially from playoff contention. It hurts, but, going into this year, I do think it was something that we all expected. So it happened. Now what are you going to do about it to close out the season? You would like to be able to kind of just rain on everybody's parade. They are a team that I do feel like has, really lost a little bit of that momentum as of late, where they kind of caught fire a little bit. And since then, I think just trying to find that groove again. I am hoping that this will be a good game. I don't know. I think that for both sides, you're really wondering if either offense will be able to get going. I think for this one, I will pick Montreal just because they do have something to play for. But yeah, I don't really necessarily think, with this being a really busy weekend for me, that this is a must-watch game for me. Montreal has already locked up a playoff spot. If they win, congrats, they're going to be hosting a playoff game. But this is not a game that I'm expecting to be a barn burner. And then the final game of the week, we have the Toronto Argonauts hosting the Ottawa Redblacks. This will be at 7 o'clock. It's one of those games where neither side has anything to play for. Ottawa, second team to be eliminated right after Edmonton for the postseason, have not made the playoffs since 2018. This does feel like a club that's really lacking any kind of stability. The fan base is probably exhausted from everything they've had to deal with, and they're taking on a Toronto team that, coming off of a championship, looking to be 14-2 on the year if they end up winning this game. I don't really know how this one will go because, again, Ottawa feels like that they've lost, again, kind of like Edmonton, their momentum that they had for a little bit there. And they're taking on a Toronto side where, are they going to start Kelly? Aren't they going to start Kelly? Are they going to rest a bunch of their starters? They're probably playing around with this so the guys don't get too much time off. So I don't know really what to say here. I think, I'm just going to go with Toronto, assuming Kelly's out there. Again, they really don't have anything left to play for, but let's say he goes out there and they have a really good quarter or two and they're able to go up big, then you're probably looking at it and saying, well, Ottawa's not going to be able to come back from it. I don't want to say that Dice is fired after this year, but let's say that they have a bad run to finish the season. You could say, well, should we keep him around? My opinion is that they have had to deal with a lot, and so I'd give him a second year. But in general, again, probably a game that, with this being such a busy weekend, nothing being impacted here, I probably will be more focused, I should say, on the Friday games, because again, BC Hamilton, obviously important, and then the Saskatchewan Calgary game, the most important game remaining of the year. So anyway, those are my picks for the week. What are yours? I have BC, I have Calgary, I have Montreal, and then I have Toronto. Winnipeg on the bye this week. So anyway, leave your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.